What's happening, guys? So, I promise you guys, I swear down, I wasn't going to watch this movie. I had no interest in it whatsoever. But somebody uploaded this full movie, Scoob 2020, that just came out the other day. Somebody uploaded it for free on YouTube. And me and my missus were just scrolling through YouTube looking for something to watch. Because, again, we were stuck in the house with nothing to do. And we saw, hey, look, somebody's uploaded the Scoob movie. Let's watch it for a laugh. I mean, how bad could it be? No. Oh my god. So guys, those of you who have been following my channel for some amount of time will probably know that Scooby Doo movies are kind of a guilty pleasure of mine. I'm actually a really big fan of Scooby Doo. When I was a kid, I used to love the original 60s animated series. I also love some of the later adaptations, like What's New Scooby Doo. I was a big fan of that as a kid. I remember every day coming home from school, it used to be on pretty much when I got in, and I always used to watch it pretty much every day back then, going back to my primary school days. So there's a lot of nostalgia there, a lot of fond memories. I also have pretty much every Scooby Doo animated feature on DVD. Between me and my missus, we pretty much collected both of them. We collected all of them, and yeah, give or take a couple of them, but I've got most of them, is the point I'm trying to make. So I'm a big Scooby Doo fan. It's a big part of my childhood. There's a lot of nostalgia there. But I wanted to avoid this movie, and the reason why is because, I mean, for one, it's 2020. I heard who was going to be involved. Warner Brothers in recent years have just been absolute trash. Pretty much everything that company has put out, definitely in regards to animated features, have not been good at all. And I'm kind of just disillusioned with movies right now. Movies right now in this woke PC nanny state era just haven't been very good. And I didn't really want them to tarnish one of my favourite licenses. But I thought, okay, it's on YouTube, it's free, let's watch it, let's check it out. And I'm not even kidding, about 20 minutes into this movie, we paused it, and we were just like, how much worse is this gonna get? This movie gets worse and worse and worse the longer you watch it. It's a short movie, it's only about an hour 30 minutes including credits, so it's not a particularly long movie. But this movie is so bad that I almost don't even want to believe how bad this movie is. You know, the best way I can describe it, the best way I can describe this movie in a short amount of time without going into too much detail, is to basically say, this is like the Emoji Movie, or Minions with a Scooby Doo paint job. That's the best way. That's the best way I can sum up this movie. This movie is a non-stop barrage of pop culture references, social media terminology, references to TikTok and Instagram and Netflix and even Tinder references. They make numerous like references to certain apps and shit that goes on nowadays that's popular with young people, and they even make bloody Tinder references and jokes about paying for Netflix and jokes about social media, and it's just, oh my god, like I'm not even kidding. This is the Emoji Movie 2.0. This might as well be a sequel to the Emoji Movie. This is the Emoji Movie with a Scooby Doo paint job, and not even a very good paint job. The animation in this movie looks so cheap. Like, it looks as if it was from 1992 or something. Like this looks like mid-90s Nickelodeon animated features. That's what this looks like in terms of the animation. It's like one of them. Do you remember on Nickelodeon they used to have those straight to TV CG animated features like Jimmy Neutron and stuff like that? They used to have those straight to TV features. That's what this movie looks like in terms of its animation and in terms of its character models and its design. Everything looks so overemphasized. It looks so garbage. I mean, where do I even start? Just the way this movie looks, the way the characters are designed, like the way the backgrounds look, everything just looks so low budget. And after watching this for free on YouTube, I actually found out that on Amazon, which is where this movie premiered, they're actually charging $20. They're charging $20 to watch this movie, to rent it and watch it on Amazon. You have got to be shitting me. Like, oh my god, I pity anybody. I pity anybody who paid $20 to watch this crap. So let me stop rambling. I mean, like I said, Scooby Doo, I'm a big fan, okay? If you guys want to see some great Scooby Doo movies, I have actually reviewed a couple. My personal favourite is Zombie Island from 1997. If you guys haven't seen that movie's awesome. I also reviewed the sequel to Zombie Island, which came out last year. I reviewed that on its release. That wasn't very good, but I tell you right now, this movie makes that one look like a masterpiece. Now this movie, right, about 5 or 10 minutes into this movie, Simon Cowell shows up. So yeah, Simon Cowell is in this movie as an extended cameo. So that right there tells you the type of movie this is going to be. I mean, Simon Cowell, in a desperate attempt to keep himself relevant, because nobody gives a shit about Simon Cowell anymore, shows up and basically for no reason whatsoever, and somehow manages to break the group up. So Shaggy and Scooby go their own way and end up in a conflict with a bunch of CGI robots that are basically robot minions, robot emojis, just absolute throwaway little faceless goon villains, because the writing of this movie is so poor and so copy and paste and so cookie cutter that they couldn't even come up with some interesting villains. Then the rest of the team, so Daphne, Vilma, and Fred, go off and do their own thing, and they basically disappear for most of the movie. Then the Blue Falcon shows up, voiced by Mark Wahlberg, very poorly by the way, and the movie, like I said, from that point on, it just becomes an endless barrage of social media references, pop culture references, jokes about Tinder and TikTok, and it was as if this movie was written by a 13-year-old who has just discovered social media, like a 13-year-old who has just discovered TikTok and Tinder and all these other apps. And this movie does what a lot of movies nowadays do. When a movie can't come up with its own original ideas, and when a movie can't keep the viewers engaged with its writing or with its visual effects. So what it tries to do instead is it tries to prey on your nostalgia by adding numerous Easter eggs and references, and just ham-fisted references pointed out from previous movies and previous adaptations. You see, the thing about Scooby Doo, one of the things that I've always loved about this series, and this can be applied to both the animated show and several of the original movies, Scooby Doo has always had a level of self-awareness. It's a series that has many tropes, tried and trusted tropes, that it uses over and over, and it embraces those tropes, it makes fun of those tropes, and it uses them and plays them for laughs. This movie, however, rather than stick to the formula that works and use these Scooby-Doo tropes and stuff like that, and character arcs that have always worked for so many years since the 1960s, it decides to just throw all that aside, completely take the piss out of that, completely mock these characters individually and mock the original concepts behind these characters. Like, for example, there's a scene where the character Fred, who for some reason in this movie is voiced by Zac Efron, which I don't understand, because Scooby in this movie is voiced by Frank Welker, who originally voiced Fred, so which kind of makes me think, why didn't they just get Frank Welker to voice Fred? I don't understand that, but he's voiced instead very poorly by Zac Efron. And there's a scene where they call Fred a knockoff Chris Hemsworth, and I'm like, what are you talking about? That doesn't make any sense. The scenes where basically they mock Shaggy's design and Shaggy's character by saying it's how I think they said something like it's how a boomer thinks that a hippie would look and speak, and I'm like, you guys do realise that Scooby-Doo was invented in the 60s, okay? So Shaggy's style as a character was based on 60s culture, okay? That's when it came from. It was made and designed all the way back then in the mid 1960s. So I don't quite understand what you're trying to insinuate with making those kind of assumptions and those kind of references. It just sounds really ham-fisted to me and doesn't make a lot of sense. like I said, the movie's got tons of Easter eggs. Like, you see things in the background that you'll notice from the show. Like, I was a big fan of the show and several of the original movies, so I noticed and pointed out many of the Easter eggs, and that was honestly the most fun I had with this movie. But at the same time, it was disappointing because it just points out to me that I'm like, without these Easter eggs and without this nostalgia bait, there would literally be nothing in this movie to hold my interest. Like, I would be absolutely bored out of my mind without those things. The main villain in the movie, Dick Dastardly, voiced by Jason Isaacs. Jason Isaacs does a good job voice acting wise, but the script that he's given is so stupid. Everything in this movie is so poorly written. I mean the plot itself, he basically wants to kidnap Scooby Doo because Scooby Doo is the descendant of of Alexander the Great's dog, and he needs to open up the gates to some portal to the underworld which is filled with gold for some reason, and it's just so stupid. Saying that out loud, I'm having brain fog. I'm actually just trying to think what to say because I'm trying to describe this movie is excruciating. As a big fan of this license, a big fan of this series, to try and describe to you the plot of this movie and how it was written and just the dialogue, man. Like, there'll be scenes in this movie where there's a chase sequence, and then all of a sudden Mark Wahlberg's character will pull out his phone and say, "Come on, let's take a selfie. I need to update my filters." And all this other shit. You know, there's a scene where, like, oh, he's using his mother's Netflix. That's not fair for the rest of us who have to pay for Netflix. That's the extent of the comedy in this movie. How do you fuck up comedy in a Scooby Doo movie? How do you do that? Like, I don't want to talk about this movie anymore, man. This was so disappointing. This was depressing. This movie was depressing to me. And like I said, the only little bits of engagement this movie got from me was with its references and its Easter eggs and just throwbacks to previous movies. I would rather go and watch any of those movies. This is the worst movie in the Scooby Doo license by far. This is one of the worst animated features I have seen in years. I would probably rather watch the Emoji movie than this. I'm not even kidding, because at least that movie didn't piss me off. It didn't take a license that I love and just tear it to shreds. So this movie, I don't want to talk any more about it. This movie gets a 2 out of 10. Stay tuned for more movie reviews. Thanks for watching. Nothing more to say about this trash. 2 out of 10. Garbage. Thanks for watching. God bless.